You're
and
on.
thank you
You're
for listening
recording.
to Pop Culture Yearbook. On this show, we pick pieces of pop culture that were important to us in a given year. We then dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm Brad.
I'm Pete.
Jesus.
And I'm Giff.
Wow. Pete maybe is drunk. He's hiding
Mhm.
it.
No, I'm
Happy
not drunk.
hour
I'm not
before-
drunk yet. Should I get there? Should I work on it?
Yeah.
I probably should.
Well,
You guys are
Pete,
the
your
ones
excitement matches mine because
Yeah.
my choice for tonight, I love it so much. So it's gonna be great.
Okay.
It is. It was a fun listen for sure.
I can tell.
Well,
It's
and
gonna
the
be
thing
great.
is, so this is one of our. So we're doing the year 2000. You guys want to say it?
In the year 2000.
Very good. We did our little review last week. Now we're getting into the choices, and so we did this year. I think we said that once before, and the only human who's ever heard it was Giff.
That's right.
Wasn't a part of the show at the time.
Nope.
And that's one that never got out. Like a couple kind of got out and people heard them, but this one didn't. And so unfortunately, nobody got to hear about our great picks. And I'm so excited to get back into it tonight. And we'll
Nice.
probably do a better job this time too, because we're pros now.
We
are
found our
pros.
voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
So you got
And we have
anything to
Gifford
say?
now.
You got any nonsense to say quick before we do it?
I'm sure there'll be plenty of nonsense coming in the next hour, Brad.
Yes,
All right.
I'm holding my nonsense for.
Oh, Gifford had some nonsense before you got on, though. He had me listen to his latest hockey calls. So I'll give him a plug to go on his
Thank you.
Twitter and listen to his hockey, because it's another good one.
My Bemidji Hockey on Twitter.
Yep.
You gotta check that out. I got my latest goal call. Actually, the tagline was thought up by Courtney, so I have to give her credit on that. But it's a doozy, and check that out if you're
And
curious.
those clips are only like 10, 20 seconds long. Even I can go on and listen to them and not get annoyed. So
Yeah, with video.
Wow.
You're doing it right.
Involved as well, so you'll see the
Even
action.
Brad can do it without getting annoyed. That's
The one thing we've learned about Brad is even if he really enjoys something, when he starts something, the biggest thing he's looking forward to is it getting over.
that's true.
Yes.
That's true.
well, sometimes
I
that's the
have
case
noticed
with
that.
like long movies. It's like, my God, let's go.
Yep.
I
Or
love this
albums.
movie.
So,
I
yeah,
love
sometimes
this movie,
albums.
but let's get on to the next thing.
My wife
Mhm.
would agree too. The most common place is we like to go to plays, and musicals,
Oh, wow.
but we
yeah.
go there and we're just looking at our watches like, okay, how long is, I mean, it's good. I like it, but how long are we going to sit here? We just keep watching it. I don't know why.
For the experience.
Huh.
Why no? We like it.
Yeah.
We,
Yeah.
Do
we
you
go
think
back
that about our podcast when we're recording?
sometimes.
He is right about now.
So that's our cue to move on now.
Yes, it is.
All right. So in the year 2000, we talked about our big year last year. We all got engaged and whatnot. And that actually connects to my choice. So I picked the album by Everclear, who I think, I'm just going to say right now, is one of the most underrated and awesome bands of our lifetime, of the 90s and early 2000s. They are just so good.
The bee's knees.
Yes.
And
how?
their first two albums were just awesome, bangers all the way through. And then they came out with this third one in 2000, and it was called Songs from an American Movie, Volume 1, Learning How to Smile. Quite a mouthful.
Yeah, what's that?
Because later in the year, there was a Songs from an American Movie, Volume 2. And they made these albums with the intention of having the different sounds. Kind of like, so Pete, you would know, the Foo Fighters put out that one double one in your honor.
Yeah.
And the first album was traditional Foos. And the second album was all acoustic.
right.
And
I was
in
gonna
this one,
ask you. Oh, sorry.
oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask you dive deeper into the story behind, if you can, maybe you don't know, but the title itself, like what does that entail?
I cannot answer that question. You put me on the spot, and I'm not prepared for that one.
It's
Maybe
a good
Gifford
question,
knows, 'cause
though.
he
It's a
always-
good
he's-
question. Yeah.
Well, from what I read, the correct me if I'm wrong, but the second album was more of a return to
Well,
a
he's
heavier
talking about
sound.
the titles.
the titles.
That's
the
what I was
title
gonna say.
itself. Why it's an intriguing title, right? Songs from an American movie. It's like, is this an American movie? What movie?
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
what's that about?
Great
Yeah.
In
question.
volume 1 and volume 2 and
So anyway, volume 1 is a little bit lighter than their first albums. It still sounds like Everclear, but it's a little more
sure.
lighter, and it's a little more
Poppy in some
listenable
spots.
to a wider audience, I guess I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And then volume 2 is much more of the hard side of Everclear, and so they kind of just switched them up that way. Volume 1 also, so what I love about this volume 1, the sound is different. I mean, it's Everclear, but it's different. There are so many great like strings and arrangements in the background that are just awesome. It is a album that I can sing like every single word to, basically, and I'm not much of a lyrics guy, and I get the lyrics wrong sometimes, and I don't know the lyrics to my favorite songs sometimes, but that is not the
That's
case here.
everybody. Everybody has that problem.
Yeah, well, but on this album, like I can it. So Gifford, go back to, we did Chris Isaak, and we talked about how that was kind of a concept album of his breakup, and you went through and told a story about how it all tied together.
Right.
This is another concept album,
was good.
or a loose concept album anyway, and it tells a story of kind of the same thing. It's his second divorce, Art Alexakis, the lead singer.
I would go the story maybe of his second relationship, his second marriage. Some of the songs.
Well, yeah, it's more than
Well, it's like
it
leads up
to the divorce.
Right.
Sure. Yeah, it goes back beyond that, and that's part of what I love it. So I said I love this band. Another thing I love is Art's voice. I think he's got such a distinct and awesome singing voice for the music that they play.
That is true.
And I think he is just such a cool guy. So he, as a kid, and he sings about some of that and writes about that, but he was big into drugs when he was a kid, heroin and meth as a teenager.
Yep.
And from what I read, and I don't know, Wikipedia, whatever site I was on, if they know what they're talking about, but he apparently just decided one day to quit cold turkey.
After his brother passed.
Oh, yeah, okay. But still, he's like, it wasn't a process. Like, he just decided that's it, and it was like 1984. And he's a little older than I always thought, too, when I went back and like did all that into it. But he just quit, and I think he's been clean ever since. He is an activist now. He works against drugs. He fights for child protective rights and gay rights. And I just think he's fascinating. He has MS now.
Yeah.
But he's this is one band on my bucket list that I never got to see. And they actually played in Minnesota last summer. And my sister and Craig, who have been on our show, went to see them, and I was invited, and I can't remember, it was a band thing. That's right. It was our kids in marching band. There's all these things. I could not go that night, so I missed it, but they went, and he still, even with MS, he sounds a little worse for the wear, but he can still get up there and put on a great show, and they thought it was a great show. And I just think he's such a cool guy, and I love the music. And to top it all off, he was also on 2 episodes of the Chris Isaak Show.
Oh my God. That's like,
that's
a lot of good stuff coming together right there.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll talk about the album in a second, but that's just kind of like my background with Everclear and Art. Do you guys have any memories of Everclear in general that you have from the 90s or whenever, do you want to say?
Not in particular. I'll talk, and then Gifford, if you could shut up for a moment. No, I don't have a lot to say, actually. I other than I did enjoy their songs. I wasn't as into Everclear as like some of the other bands that we've talked about on this show, like Nirvana and Pearl Jam and those other bands. Not that I didn't enjoy them, it's just I never got into them to the degree that you did. But so I will turn it over to Gifford.
Well,
I'll let you talk now. Just kidding. I was just kidding earlier.
I understand. So listening through this album, there was a few songs that I recognized from, when I did listen to music over the radio, not necessarily the AM radio, but the FM radio.
I see what you did there.
Thank you, sir. But when I went through, at the end of the show, we're going to do our top 5 Everclear songs, and I found myself drawn more towards the 97 So Much for the Afterglow album, and that would have
yeah,
been
that's
I
everybody
love that
loved
album
those.
so
That's the
much.
one.
and we
Oh,
we
man.
were deep into college at this point,
Yeah,
so
and those videos were just massive. They were on TV
huge.
every
Yeah.
day.
Yes.
So that is more of my understanding of Everclear. And just remembering being at parties or being back in the fraternity and just listening to music with friends, Everclear was definitely a part of that. And again, watching the videos on back when MTV still showed videos.
I could have
And
easily
the big one
picked
for
that
me was
album.
the Volvo Driving Soccer Mom. That was
Yeah, and
was
so that
my
one came
favorite
after
song.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
That album, I
So-
think that's a fantastic album too. It's kind of their last hurrah. And
Yep.
that's where I feel like people forgot about them, and they shouldn't have, because they actually put out some good stuff after that too. But I'm glad you knew through that, Pete, because that was still good stuff right there. And they put out these
Right.
great videos, like
Yeah.
like I said, there's so much for the Afterglow videos, the Everything to Everyone, and I Will Buy You a New Life, and
Mhm.
Father of Mine. I mean, those you could not escape on MTV. Those videos, and then Santa Monica from the first one,
Yeah.
so great. And then like the Volvo Driving Soccer Mom. I mean, that's a great video too. They're all just awesome.
Well, and I think something has to be said for MTV actually showing videos.
True.
I think that was maybe the golden age of videos. I mean, everything.
Well,
just
the
gonna
80s
say,
probably were
why-
more, but
I don't know.
Why in
man.
the hell did they get away from it? And there's a period of time where MTV was great for, they had some of their during college, they had a Real World, but most of it actually, like I remember
Yeah.
over like noon and all afternoon.
yeah, in the
they would be
afternoon you
playing
could see these videos every day.
And
I
that's
don't
what
know-
it should be. Why
I don't
get
know if
away
you
from it?
guys are familiar with this thing called the internet,
YouTube.
where you can get anything at any time and watch it whenever you want. So you
I think
didn't
that's
have
part
to
of it.
depend on MTV.
But
Like you didn't have
no,
to
that
slog
wasn't
through.
the issue. That was not the issue.
I
I
disagree.
think it
Yeah.
wasn't all the issue.
It
but
was
I think-
falling
but it was
apart
big
before
because, like, so
videos on the
TRL
internet. Before
TRL was kind of like the last stand
Mhm.
of videos on MTV, and that went into like the early 2000s with like the boy bands.
Yep.
and then,
But I mean, you not long after that, that's when YouTube comes out, and that's when the internet is like all over everywhere. So
Right.
and for a while though, VH1 was good in that regard too.
Yeah, you
and then
still
they
had
fell apart,
VH1,
too. I
but
loved
they-
VH1 and some, even more than MTV for a while there.
I will say I hardly ever watch it because I don't go on the network TV very often, YouTube TV that I have. But when I do go through the guide, MTV does, or I think it's MTV2. That's the thing they
Sure.
added. But they have like a 90s Nation and an 80s, like they'll play like hour-long blocks of videos every night. You can pretty much find them. So you can go back if you have that and find those older videos. But who sits around and watches that anymore? Because it's out of your
It's
Well,
not
you
about
sit on
necessarily
YouTube
just-
right.
Go down a wormhole of videos.
You don't need to.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
yeah, but it's just nice to have it on and not have to this is what video do I
Pete
want?
is the most crotchety
I
old man
like-
when it comes to music.
No, but what I'm saying is that I like the idea of watching some videos I like and then have them give me some new videos that I wouldn't go on YouTube and pick out on my own.
Sure.
And that's how you sell more artists and sell more music, I think.
Sure. This segment
All right.
brought to you by Scott's Lawn Service. Get off my lawn segment. With
Let's move on from MTV. So I'll get into then now this album and why I picked. So I could have easily picked So Much for the Afterglow for 97. And if we did, Ryan Hummel could have come back on because between him and me, we lived together that year and we were obsessed with that. And it was so great. But what's interesting is like we named all those videos and all the songs, and you'd think those are like Everclear's biggest hits. But this album we're going to talk about, I think, was their biggest album, and it has their
second.
biggest.
Really?
Was it second?
Second highest selling album for Everclear.
Was it to So Much for the Afterglow?
I believe so.
must
It's
have
got to
been.
be.
It
It
had to
has
be.
to be.
Yeah.
But it has their biggest hit, and their only top 40 hit, which blew my mind that they didn't
That
have a
can't be
top
right.
40 hit out of those other
That can't be
songs.
right. That can't be right.
They were hits, on those side charts, but on the mainstream Billboard top, they weren't top 40 hits apparently.
That's bullshit.
All right, now I love Pete's coming strong tonight. This is
Yeah,
good.
he is. He should go to happy hour before every podcast. I'm telling you.
All right.
Anyway, so this album sold 1.8 million copies, platinum album. Oh, oh my God, it's in my notes. Second bestseller to So Much for the Afterglow. Why is this album so important to me besides the fact that it freaking rocks? Here's a little story of the timeline. So this album came out on July 14th, 2000. All these albums came out back then on Tuesdays. I used to work at Best Buy in the 90s, and that was release day. It was Tuesdays was when the albums came out, and we stocked the shelves. So that came out then. 3 days later, on Friday, July 17th, I got engaged. And so this album was brand new. My wife and I, we were listening to it in the car. We listened to it a ton at that time, so that's part of the significance. And after we got engaged that day, we drove to my sister's house to tell them the news. And Danica and Craig had Haley, my niece, who was only 2 years old at the time. And we were listening to AM radio. Nice. Not AM radio, but the song AM radio. And I can still picture her standing in front of the entertainment center, like the Charlie Brown girl who bobs her head back and forth. Like, if you guys can see me, she's got her hands up by her head and she just bobs it back and forth. And Haley had this little bob, and her hair was just bobbing back and forth. And she's 2 years old and she loved that song. And so, you know, the ironic thing is this album is about divorce. But for me, I completely associated with getting engaged and starting my life with Kim. And she liked Everclear, and it was one of those ones we could listen to together. And so the timing of it was just perfect. And so aside from how great I think it is, it has this sentimental value to me, unlike a lot of other albums that I love.
Well, and when it comes to particularly music, if I can attach sentimental value to it, then it means that much more to me. Everything, you know, you hear a song and it instantly takes you back to a time and a place in your life that was either good, bad, or otherwise. But
I have so many memories from that week, from that day. It's the day I got engaged in particular, but
that's what music is all about.
So it is a loose concept album. It tells the story of his second divorce, kind of plus stuff. And so when I listen to it, you can hear all those themes throughout, and you can tell the songs fit together. But we're going to do this a little different tonight. The songs don't seem chronological to me, even though they all fit together. So what I did is I've listened to this many times, and I kind of think about, oh, that should go there, and that should go there. So I reordered the album into what I think makes sense as a chronological telling of the story. And so I resequenced it, and we're going to go through it in that order.
I love that.
I'll tell you the order they are on the real album as we go through them, but it'll just add a little fun to it and to tell the story and make sense. And then I asked you if you guys did it. I don't know, but we can compare how your list might look to mine if you have any thoughts.
Now, here's what I have a question. I did not do that, but my question would be to think about. And if you know, you can answer now, or maybe it's better to answer after we've gone through the list. My question is, why do you suppose that they placed the songs in the order that they did on the album?
Well, I don't know the answer, but I think they just did it because they put them in the order they think sounds best, you know, like to put an album together for the best sound. I remember back when we did this, I did listen to it in that new order. I've totally blanked on. I didn't do that this time to see if it sounds, you know, as good.
Sure. Yep.
And it is a loose concept album, so it's not like it's generally telling an exact story. But I can pull a story out of this and I can put them in order the way I listen to it, and so that's how we're going to go through it.
Wonderful.
Does that answer your question, Pete?
Not at all. But we can go.
I think I did. They put it the way they think it sounds best musically.
Yeah. I would agree.
I was hoping for an answer. It's like, well, this is because this is what it meant to him.
Well, you can go try to email Art Alexakis and figure that out.
All right. I'll do that.
Okay. So here we go. So you guys don't know what song's coming next.
No, and I'm very excited to see which one you place first.
Okay, well, I'll give you a spoiler alert. The beginning and ending song do not change.
Okay. See, and that's what I was thinking, because the beginning song, from an American movie.
The song from an American movie is like a short kind of intro song, and it fits as an intro song.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great bookend with the final song. They both relate to his daughter, which is what I would say is the best thing that came out of this relationship. And so it fits here. It's a great little beginning song. It's not chronological maybe, but it's still where it belongs in the way I did this.
Mm-hmm.
And I also pulled out like a lyric from each song that I love all the lyrics, but I pulled out one from each song that like stood out to me. And this was easy here. Just the sound of my little girl laughing makes me happy just to be alive.
Yeah.
And that's such a great line and a great song. And it's so pretty. This a little opener.
Very
It's just
sweet.
so pretty and sweet.
And that's the one line that I had written down too as the key line that stood out for me. I thought it came across. It sounds almost like a little bluegrass to it. So it sounds like a different genre.
Just like a banjo or something.
With that mandolin.
Yeah,
twangy.
The mandolin playing is just a nice little. Yeah.
And then you have that kind of it almost sets up like a country kind of scene because there's like sound effects of like crickets and dogs that are incorporated. I think
like
there's a
nighttime
trombone somewhere in there. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, go on.
Well, we're going to Giff then. No.
Yeah, Gifford.
Yeah, I just like the simple short intro. Again, like with the mandolin in there, and it was just pretty and a great way to introduce the album, if you will.
Okay, so now we get into the actual order of things. And so the next song, number 2, is actually the third song on the album, and that is AM Radio. Okay, and that is because this song, I feel, has nothing to do with his relationship, but it is all memories of his childhood growing up, kind of connecting back to the first one with his daughter. And it is nostalgia overload. And what do we like here at Pop Culture Yearbook?
We love nostalgia.
We do.
Nostalgia,
we also like pop, we like soul, we like rock, but we never liked disco.
Right.
That's my line there.
Well,
so this song, it starts with a little jingle from a 70s LA radio station. It's got all these great references back to things from the 70s. Mm-hmm. The video is fantastic. It's got all these settings from shows in the 70s, and it's got like their faces put onto. So like there's a bunch of Brady Bunch ones. So I love that. And he plays Greg in a whole bunch of scenes. Mm-hmm. I mean, you just can't. It's unmistakably catchy and great, and it's just a fantastic song. So
it starts out sampling Mr. Big Stuff by Gene Knight. Yep. So right off the bat, that sample takes you right into the 70s. Mm-hmm. So and then they just basically run right, like Brad said. It's again,
the song is chronological. He even gives years. In 72, I did this. In 77, this, and so it goes right through the decade.
I'm a sucker for story time during songs, so I really enjoyed this particular ditty.
I love when a good song paints a good visual and how it talks about bell bottoms and
groovy long hair or greasy long hair.
All that kind of stuff that are incorporated into it. This is, by the way, my favorite song on the entire album.
That is not surprising, and that's a good choice.
It's not even a sneaky favorite because I don't think it's that.
Yeah,
sneaky.
I'm waiting for your sneaky favorite later. There's got to be one. And it's not really a sneaky favorite because this one was a single.
Yep.
So your sneaky favorite's kind of got to be, an album track.
Well, and what I liked about it was that the lead vocals from Art here were a bit muted. Almost like they were in mono, like what you would find on the AM radio.
Yeah, it's got the sound.
Yeah,
that's good.
So that was a fun little thing that they got going there.
And the chant at the end that I've already said is just fun. Mm-hmm. And they build and they start to yell it. And
I like soul.
But we never liked disco. So that is that's a classic Everclear song, and it's so fun. All right, so that still doesn't really have much to do with his relationship. That's why that goes there.
No.
Now we get into the song. So this is number 3 on my list, but it is not until number 10 on the album. And that is Unemployed Boyfriend, which maybe it's not the same girl, but it tells the story of his first meeting with this girl, this random meeting at an unemployment office. And he's picking her up and just saying kind of crazy things to her. And it's got this whole technique where she's telling the story herself, I don't know who the girl is, if it's somebody or not, but she's telling the story in a message to her friend over the phone, and it's intercut with her telling story and then him singing the lyrics. And they get together. Like she buys into it. She thinks he's a little creepy. He even says I'm a little creepy, but she buys into it. She has a great feeling about it. And so that's where it all began.
Yes.
And there's so many great lines in here. This, I don't know. Some people, I don't know if everybody likes this song or not. Maybe they think it's a little kitschy to have the phone message, but I think it's
voiceover.
great. I think
it's fun. Leave me a message or I'll kill you. No, I thought that how it just sort of grows, because you're right. At first she thinks he's a little creepy, and but then you can tell.
But he warns her that right away.
As the song goes on, as the song goes on, you can tell that she's just more and more interested in him.
Especially when she tells her bitchy sister about it.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, and what I took from this one is the unemployed. Well, the guy has a little bit of Ted Mosby to him, because he has the line in there, "You will be the mother of my children someday."
God, that's a good connection.
You just stole the words out of my mouth with that line. I didn't make the Ted Mosby connection, but the demanding line.
Well, and the way he sings it, that's a great word, Pete, because he yells it. It is like a demand. You will be the mother of my children someday.
Yep.
Reassuringly, he then says, "I will never be like those other guys." Right. So he's saying he's different, and
I just bought it. I think it is such a cute song, and I remember when this album first came out. This is one of the first songs that I loved right off the bat. I thought, because it was just different and fun.
Well, and what's funny is she's at the unemployment office, and he's telling her
apparently he is too.
He will never be like her unemployed boyfriend. Yet,
I know.
What are you doing at the unemployment office? That's a fun little part to it. It gave me a bit of a chuckle listening to the song.
So Pete, you said one of your lines. My line that I picked out of this one was, "Those blonde streaks look so pretty in your black hair." I thought that was just a nice, and it's a lot of these lines. It's where they're placed in the song and how he sings them. They just stand out even more when you hear it.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought you might go with the line where he makes a promise to her that.
But, yeah, that's in there too.
Yeah, right.
That's a tough promise to make, because that's putting a lot of pressure on yourself.
Right. Well, and on her too. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what number 4 is, because I had that as the first relationship song, and I'm not exactly sure. I'm guessing you're gonna go with Brown Eyed Girl.
No.
That's what I was gonna say.
Nope. I'll explain that later.
Okay.
So for number 4, I have the number 2 song on the album, which is "Here We Go Again," which this song it's all about dating. Yep. And this is a new relationship, and if it's a second divorce, here we go again. It's about the good beginning times, that wonderful time at the beginning of a relationship, everything's happy, you're all excited. And the line I pulled out of this one was, "I don't want that other life because I am so in love with you." And it's like he's fully committed and he's in, but it's the title, "Here We Go Again," is kind of like, uh-oh, am I, is this going to be right? Am I doing the right thing? Yep. And this is another very catchy song. It's a great one, placed at number 2 on the album, because it really kicks it off with a great song to start it off after the little intro song.
Well, and again, we have
Public Enemy with "Bring the Noise" in the song. And I actually thought that this one sounded, we mentioned earlier the song Volvo Driving Soccer Mom. I thought there was some callbacks, maybe not necessarily intentional callbacks, but it just kind of reminded me of that song.
Interesting. I'll have to listen to it with that in mind.
Yeah, well, and I had this starred as one of my favorite songs on the album. I loved the funky sound to it, which comes from the sampling. Yeah.
This and AM radio are a hell of a 1-2 punch there right off the bat.
And then
is it your sneaky favorite?
Which, Pete?
Yeah, I would probably
say. Order,
well, I got another one though too.
To have this and AM radio be your second and third song after the intro, it gives the album that kick right off the bat. That's why I think they put it that way.
Right. Excellent use of horns in this song as well. Probably a trombone somewhere in there.
I was going to say that.
I mentioned trombone. I don't think you guys even knew that I mentioned a trombone earlier in this episode. So
I
you'll
didn't
have to
hear
go
that.
back and listen to that
Oh.
Easter egg.
Oh,
I love when we have Easter eggs. I hope there's somebody out there that likes that and knows what the hell we're talking about.
I guarantee you, John Malkin loves it.
All right,
There's another one.
Okay, Kip, I'm just curious. So you have a list. Where did you put this on yours? Like towards the end? Where is it?
well, so I had the first song as the first song. I thought you would go AM radio because again, it didn't have the couple in there. So my unemployed boyfriend, I had 3. Then I was really struggling to find where you were going to go from there until it starts to turn for the negative. So I didn't.
Well, here, how about we just go when we're done? You can go through your list, and it'll be easier to keep track of if you.
I don't have a hard list. I'm kind of doing it as you go through,
so
I can at
trying
least
to guess your next song.
I can eliminate the ones that we've already done.
All right. Well, moving on then.
Okay.
So this is the fun dating time. Everything's going great. That brings us to number 5, which is also the number 5 song on the album, "Learning How to Smile," which this song is all about them getting together and getting married in the desert.
Yes.
So it's the marriage song. And the line here is, so before, "I don't want that other life, I'm so in love with you." Now he says, "We are just learning how to live together, me and you." It's them getting married. This is going to be us now. This is one of my favorite songs. I don't have a favorite on this. I have 12 favorites on this album. But this stretch on the real album with this song through like the next 5 are like, I mean, it's just amazing to me because none of them are singles. None of them would be considered hits, but they form just the most awesome part of the album to me. And it starts with this one right here. So this is the wedding song. This is number 5. They're doing okay still at this point.
This one establishes kind of who they are as a couple because it talks about how they just got drunk and sloppy on the Greyhound bus.
Oh, that's a great line, Pete.
Yes, I did it. I got one in before you guys did. And like how he's promising her that he'll never break her heart, and I will never let them break me. What?
God, that's another one. It sounds so good when he sings it. When you hear it in the song, it's just
it's better than how I just said it. Would you say? All right, and then you have that whisper where he says, I live for the day when you say, baby, let's just run away.
Yeah.
And so it's like, they're not all about the fancy big church wedding and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they just want a simple life and figuring out how to be happy together.
And that'll tie into the next song, but
learning how to smile.
I won't say it until Gifford gets to go.
So this would probably be my sneaky favorite.
Nice.
On here.
There it is. It's so good.
Again, sucker for story time. It's a good
stories.
Run through. This I was kind of wondering if this maybe had a personal side for Art with his drug use and tumultuous childhood because he moved around a lot, getting passed from different family members and things like that as we go from Vegas to Philly to across the country. And then
white boy in a black neighborhood, that's from Father of Mine.
And so this is, again, like you said, this is the beginning of the relationship. Things are going well. It's, they're hard partying couple here, and they're always looking for the thing that's going to be good in the future. They're always ready to run away and, get on to the next thing. But as they go to the next thing, it seems like
segue.
Okay.
There's the segue because I know what Brad's next song is going to be.
Well, obviously, the next song is going to be my 6th song, and also this is where on the album the songs fit right together.
Yep.
Number 6 is the honeymoon song.
Thanks for letting me guess. I appreciate that.
Well, we knew you knew it.
Asshole.
Which this song is kind of interesting because it's sung by Greg Eklund, the drummer, not Art. Right. And I mean, there's so many good songs, but it's like the day wasn't fun until we left on our honeymoon. Like you said, the wedding wasn't a big deal, Pete. They didn't care about all that. The day got fun when they left on their honeymoon. And my favorite line on here is, it's when they're coming home, and you don't want it to end because you're going back to reality. So let's get loaded tonight. We'll drink on the flight back home. The honeymoon is over. That line is my favorite on the whole album.
Yeah. and he makes a joke about getting laid together.
Yeah, with the
in
Hawaiian
the
lake
song.
as they go to
Yep.
Hawaii.
Which
And
works well with the ukulele.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they have the little, and then and there's a little
That's right.
there's a little woo woo sound in there too.
How's that again?
Woo woo.
All right, good.
I love this song because this
it's
is just such a pretty, like, there's no
soothing.
hardness to this song. It's soothing. It's like a ukulele song. It's like just sitting
right.
on the
That's
beach.
what it is. It's
and it's right in the middle of the album. Great timing. So I love it. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's over to you, Gifford.
I had my little bit of ukulele in there. It's a very kind of a folksy song. Might be back to their his earlier roots with when he was in San Francisco playing. What was it called? Cowpunk. A little bit of bluegrass, folksy. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Like you say, it's a cute little song with the lyrics. Yeah.
And fun. It's just makes you, if you don't smile while listening to the song, then I mean I don't know what to say. It's a smiley song. And we just learned how to smile on the previous one. So smile, damn it.
Oh, well done.
All right, that brings us now the album is halfway through, and this is where things start to turn. So my number 7 is actually number 8.
I want to guess. That's what I was gonna guess.
Thrift Store Chair.
Yep. Yes, that's what I was going to guess is your next one.
So Thrift Store Chair, this one starts to show the problems. The honeymoon is over now. Back home, the honeymoon is over. Things are falling apart. Things are not going very well. They're arguing. They're still married, but they're arguing and fighting. But they're trying to hold it together. And the line that, brings is, put a John Prine record on. We need to slow it down for a while. We're still in love. We got to step back, get over this fight, and we're trying to hang in there, but the cracks are coming. So that's why it's next.
Yeah.
Well, I love this song too.
To me, he feels like he's giving up a little bit, allowing himself to be walked all over. But he says he's headed for a big fall and a big
fall.
Yeah. And what I liked about the lyric was when he was explaining, we should have never bought a king size bed.
Yeah.
And then there's a few lines, and he says, and all I can see is the distance that grows between us because it's such a big bed. So that was.
I didn't write down the exact lyric, but isn't it something like he mentions that the only thing it's good for is sex or something?
Yes,
and that's it.
Plenty good for the real good sex.
Yep,
that's what it is. Okay.
But yeah, but speaking of the fights, he says, you can have your way again. You can believe what you want to believe. You can walk all over me tomorrow, but tonight, can we just pretend to sleep? I'm sure we can all relate to fights like that where it's like you
what?
No idea what you're talking about.
That's a you problem, Brian.
Yeah. Okay, guys, good one. But it's it's where you're trying to hang in there and it's just not going well, and you're so mad, but you don't want to fight, and you still love them.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
So I love that song. It's starting to get to the sad stuff, but it is the sound of these songs and the lyrics is so fucking good. Okay, you guys want to guess my number 8?
Well, let me see. So I'm confused on where Brown Eyed Girl is, because if you're gonna go with the continuation, then would you hit 7 because now that it's over?
Not yet.
No.
Okay.
No, not yet. I don't think
before
it's
that.
it. Otis Redding.
Yes, Pete, you got it, baby.
Oh,
so Otis Redding is the 9th song on the album. So, and I love you got all the references like an AM radio, but here you got John Prine and Thrift Store Chair. You got Otis Redding is the name of the song. There's all these older references too within the album. But Otis Redding is about like looking back at memories, and again, they're not apart. And to me, this song comes off like the last ditch effort to save it. And I just wrote down one really simple line, and it's just, I just want to be happy again. Like, I want to be together, I want to be happy, but things are not going well. And it starts, the whole beginning is, do you remember when we were hungry? Do you remember when we were cold? And everything was good then, but now it's bad. And he wish he had one more life because he doesn't want to waste this one. The lyrics are so good. I love it.
things were harder, but at the same, I don't think this was a line. It's just a note that I took. But he's talking about the times when things were harder, but at the same time happier, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like that. You think about the most fun years of all of our lives probably is the college years, when it's like you got no job, you got no money, and you don't know what your future is going to be. But at the same time, they're the most fun years of your life. And
Right.
so because you had less cares, less responsibility, maybe. And I mean, this isn't about college, but it's sort of about that same kind of thing that he's going through,
Yeah.
or that
You
he remembers going through and wishes he could go back.
you didn't
Yeah.
have the material comforts of life, but you had each other, and that's when the
Yes.
relationship was strong, and you leaned on each other for
Yeah.
that support. Yeah.
And in the last
Oh,
song, they were fighting, but they were still trying to like hang on. And here it's just he repeats, I don't want to be wasted. I don't want to be blind. Like he's coming to grips that it is ending. He doesn't want it to end, but he doesn't want to be blind to what's happening. And it's there's not any saving it at this point, but it's like that last ditch hope that he could. And this song, I think it's one of those builders, and it has these huge, awesome strings in the towards the end of the song. And I have a really weird, specific memory of this song. So July 14th, this came out. We got engaged July 17th. I believe Pete, Abelskiver Days was then the next weekend in Tyler.
That matches
So
up.
we were all home and still listening to this album. And I remember being on Main Street in Tyler, and some Tyler guy in a truck drives by, and this song with those strings is blasting out of that truck. And I just
Oh, wow.
smiled like, even in Tyler, they're listening to Everclear,
Yep.
still hanging on to some of that good music down here. And I just thought that was cool. And it's one of those little dumb things that stuck with me.
Sure.
We got to talk about who that was.
I don't know who it was. It was a pickup, though, and it was blasting Otis Redding.
That's awesome. And just to touch on Brad's earlier point, the lyric, I don't want to live inside this daydream anymore. I just want to be happy again.
Yes.
The daydream of, what the relationship was in the past and trying
And
to
being
hang on to
blind,
it.
yeah.
Yep. And it's just not working out. So
I think you guys know what the next song is, number 9.
that would be number 7.
Number 7, Now That It's Over.
Mm-hmm.
Because this song does tell the story of a divorce because it's over. And, he didn't want to be blind. He didn't want to be in a daydream. And the line I wrote down here is, maybe I am just waking up in my own way now that it's over. Like he's realizing it's done. I got to be me now. I'm waking up from that dream and I'm mad and it's sad, but this is where we are now. And to me, if you put a gun to my head and said, pick your favorite song, I think this is the one I'd go with.
And
it's so good.
He kind of talks about like he's got this fairy tale vision in his head about it, because there's several times he says maybe we can be friends, and then they come back with that yeah right thing, right? And so it's like realizing that that's just not a realistic possibility in any of these situations. You can't be friends after this. So yeah, go ahead, Gifford.
Yeah,
song,
I just
really.
And that's
really
for one of my
and,
favorites. It is definitely like the low point of the album too.
Right, and based on where it is in the track listing, this follows the honeymoon song. This happy, like Brad said, if you can't smile,
it goes quickly to
listening
the Now That It's
to
Over.
this song, there's something wrong with you. And then the very next track number 7,
and it starts with
now
yeah
that
right
over, and it's like, holy cow, is that a hard turn? So that's kind of what I wrote down. And remembering what Brad was talking about with placing this album in the chronological orders, he saw it. I was like, okay, well, obviously these two aren't going to be back to back on his list.
Well, and I think too, if you're looking at this, I guess I don't have the vinyl, but if you looked at it as a two-sided, this would have been the number 1 song on the second side. So it's not maybe chronological, but it starts with yeah right. It starts with a divorce, and then it tells you the story of kind of the divorce after, even though it's out of order.
Sure.
Boy, we are really getting to this one tonight.
Yeah, this is a good one.
And I told, so 5 through 9, like those 5 songs, and my order goes 5, 6, 8, 9, 7. So those 5 songs are still in the same spot on the album. I just kind of reorganized 2 or 3, but that chunk to me is just one of my favorite things. Okay, that brings us to number 10. And number 10 is the 11th song. And speaking of the best Everclear song, This Is Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I put it here is because this now is told from the kids' perspective of how the divorce looks to them and how kids are like smarter than you give them credit for. Don't lie to me. Don't tell me everything is wonderful. I'm not stupid. And the line I have here is, I just don't understand how you can smile with all those tears in your eyes when you tell me that everything is wonderful now. And first of all, this song was the only top 40 hit they ever had, according to what I found, which I cannot believe, but it hit number 11 on the Hot 100.
Still think it's bullshit.
I totally agree. This was also this album came out a year after Columbine. This was the graduation song for Columbine High School. I mean, oh my God, imagine that emotion.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
The following year in 2000, it was the graduation song.
I just said Now That It's Over is my favorite on the album, but I mean, this song is amazing. Like,
it's a juggernaut.
Flat out amazing. And I watched the video again before this. The video is just the kids because the kids are mad and they're embarrassed, but then at the end the kids are all jumping up and down and dancing with the band. It's just, go watch it. It's very good. Awesome. Yep. And the song is great.
Well, and again, a personal song, I think, for Art here, because this is something he went through.
Right. It's his own as a kid, but also you can see it be his kid looking. They're the same.
Yep.
This is it, guys. This is the sneaky favorite.
How can it be sneaky?
How could it be a sneaky favorite? It's the biggest hit they've ever had.
Biggest hit.
Sneaky. Well, I didn't realize it was that big of a hit compared to their other ones.
Well, I'm glad we got
it's my favorite one on the album.
I will say, though, Pete, it's buried at number 11 on the album, which seems kind of weird.
Yeah, it's way late.
For being one of the biggest single, and obviously they probably figured to be the biggest hit. Why is it so far in the album?
Can I give a venture a guess on that? So we have the last song on the album is we'll get to it here, but I think Wonderful is a good way to kind of end the album in a way, because
it would have been, yeah.
It's such a big, song. The thing that killed me about this song is that you listen to the music, the lyrics don't match the music. The music is all upbeat and kind of fun, and even how they sing the song, but the lyrics themselves are very,
it's an angry kid.
It's an angry kid. And one of the other things I wrote on there was, at the end of the song, when he's singing "Everything is Wonderful Now," there's a couple of times where he really screams it, where his voice almost cracks, and it's like a kid who's hit their breaking point and just has to scream at their parents about what they're going through with this divorce.
I hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it sounds like his voice is cracking. It's like, oh, that doesn't sound right, but yes, it does. It sounds even better because you understand what the lyrics are.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a great word, GIF. It's a juggernaut. It is. Even though this is my favorite album, or at least one of them, this isn't the song I think of as like Everclear's biggest hit or the song everybody would know.
Sure.
Kind of sneaky, isn't it?
I think of the 90s song.
That's kind of sneaky, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right, Pete. It is sneaky. It's a sneaky hit.
Thank you.
Vindicated.
But not off of this particular album. Oh, that's great, Pete.
But it is the biggest one, and it's great to look back. Okay, so this is where I placed the number 4 song on the album, Brown Eyed Girl.
Kind of
it was the hardest one to place because it's a cover, and it's,
Okay.
The reason why I put it here is because I feel like they're using the lyrics of Brown Eyed Girl. He's looking back on what he had and remembering all the positive stuff. It's a positive look back. It's a happy ending, even though it's not a happy ending, but it's a happy ending to the album. And so I feel like it's him looking back on his ex-wife in a positive way and remembering those things. And I like how so first of all, when this album came out, I didn't really care much for this song because, it's a cover. And I love Van Morrison and Brown Eyed Girl, but like you heard it a million times.
Oh my God, every Johnny Home concert.
Yeah, so I would skip it quite often. But as time has passed, I listen to it now and it's like this song is such a fantastic cover because it is very true to the original bit, yet is definitely all Everclear.
It's
And
a
they added
different
that,
version of it. It's a
they made
slower
it their
tempo.
own while being
Yeah.
completely true to which is what a cover should do.
Right. It has a bit of a tropical sound to it.
It does.
Is what I kept going back to.
It's slower tempo.
And they added that
it's
little
better
like intro
musically.
part where he says, "I hear a song, makes me think of a girl I used to know."
Mhm.
This is why I put it here too, because they added that in. I sing along when I hear it on the radio now. This song reminds him of that girl that he was with, who unfortunately he's not.
Right.
So that's how
it parallels earlier how the AM radio takes him back to the days earlier, and now this song takes him back to the happy times with this woman.
So that's why I put it here. You agree or disagree, but that was my logic, and I think it fits.
Well, and for me, it's hard for me not to like this song because I love the Van Morrison version. And then, as Pete said, I like it even a little bit more because of all the Johnny Home concerts that we went to and hearing it as a cover. So for me, it's like it's another cover. I've heard it as a cover. I like it as a cover, and it's very good that way. The other thing I will say, as far as how it was put on the album in the order that it was, if you look at the album, besides the first intro song, you've got Here We Go Again with you sampled Public Enemy. Then you come to AM Radio with a heavy sample of Mr. Big Stuff. And then you go right into a cover. So as far as getting an album really going, you know, you've got samples right into a cover before you start getting into, you know, really, really, truly original stuff.
That makes sense.
To elaborate on the point that I just made, it comes right after AM radio. So that's why you have the AM radio, and then you have the Brown Eyed Girl, which is the two songs that I just said parallel each other, or bookend the entire
Pete,
thing.
Now you're figuring out why they organized it the way they did.
Yep.
Yeah.
And why Brad organized it the way he did.
Yes. I didn't like the placement of it being fourth because I'm like, first of all, I was like, why are they doing this song? I didn't get it. And why is it right at the beginning of the album? Because the cover, you could put it at the end. So it kind of gave me that little like, I'm going to skip this and just go on to the rest of it because the rest of it's so good. But I have come to grips with it and realized that this is just a top-notch cover, and it's great. All right, so we end with 12, and it is the 12th song on the album, Annabella's song, and this is a bookend to the first song, which is about his daughter. This is about his daughter, who is his whole life now. She is the best part of his marriage, the best part that came out of it, so it's the best ending. And a simple line from here is, "You just don't understand. You are my everything." She is everything to him, and he loves her, and it's got to be the closer. And it's really slow and kind of just like, it's a sleepy kind of like, it kind of bookends with that sleepy, not sleepy, but the
lullaby.
first line.
I call it
it is a lullaby. There you go.
I said it's a lullaby. Yes. And that's kind of the intent of it, is what I had written down. Like, just tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. It's like, I'm here for you. I'm here to provide for you. And you're never alone. It's just such a soothing song, a perfect song to end the original album with.
And this one being between the two, kind of the angry kid and then the lullaby here. Brown Eyed Girl, I think, fits between them too, because it's like maybe he's telling his daughter, you know, he's not angry at his wife anymore. He's telling his daughter, you know, she is a great person. Obviously, I loved her, and it fits in there like to keep him and his relationship strong with her.
Yeah, and the other thing I took from it is that with him having a father that left him at a young age, here's him as a dad on the road a lot, and he's telling her, I'm always miles and miles away. I feel I'm running out of time, but he's trying to tell her that I am here. I'm you know, want to be a huge part of your life, and doesn't want to be that absentee father that he
It's
had.
a good opposite foil song to Father of Mine from So Much for the Afterglow.
Yep. Good point.
All right. Well, you guys are great. I loved it. I love the album, and you always bring it. So
hold on one second. Did because I did listen to the deluxe album
Oh yeah.
which had the two
Well, me
extra
and Gifford
songs,
talked
which we
about
can
that
give.
before you got on, so that's why.
Oh, we're not talking about
You
those.
well, you
Okay.
can say what you want. But the CD ends here.
Yep.
Sure.
And they those two songs, if you go on the streaming now, you get those two with it, but they're not really part of the album. And
Correct.
Rockstar actually is on Songs from American Movie Part 2. So
Right.
it's
They could be, in the sense that they could be part of the story, because it seems like the Out of My Depth.
And I like them both. They're
Seems
both
like
good songs.
what he's saying in that Out of My Depth song, just real quickly, and you guys don't have to comment on it if you don't want to, but things are going good for him now, but he's sitting there. It's like being a Vikings fan. Things are going so good. You just know you're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's the place that he's at. And then the last one is Rockstar, which is just a big fun song.
I
and
love
really
Rockstar
upbeat.
so much.
Rockstar
You'll hear it coming
Yeah,
up here.
yeah, I love it.
Yep.
So it
And the lyrics
really
in
didn't
Rockstar are
seem
fantastically fun too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't know how that tied in, or if it tied into the other story at all, but
It doesn't. It's from the
other
other
than
album.
just to say everything's great now and he's just doing his music stuff, whatever. But anyway, that's all I had to say. If
right.
Brad, if you wanted to elaborate on those at all, I
No,
don't know.
I'm glad
All
you
right.
brought it in so we could mention it, but I don't have any notes or anything to say. I do like the Out of My
did
Depth
extra credit.
song, and Rockstar, you'll hear in a second, is one of my favorite songs. So we'll just go into that. So if one of you wants to do your top 5 Everclear, you can go ahead and start it off.
Well, I will start it off
Go ahead.
here, as I saw
Fine.
Pete drinking from his water, so I figured I would let him finish that. My number 5, I Will Buy You a New Life. I really like that one. Number 4, off of this album we spoke of tonight, AM Radio. My number 3 is also off this album, Wonderful. And like Brad brought up, a nice foil to a song from a previous album, my number 2 is Father of Mine. And my number 1 is Santa Monica.
Nice.
So that's what I got. On
My big black
list.
boots and an old suitcase.
All right. I had my number 5 was So Much for the Afterglow. Number 4, AM Radio. Then I had Father of Mine, A Beautiful Life, and my number 1 is Volvo Driving Soccer Mom. I love that song. It's just fun.
It is. It's
Sing
great.
along every time it comes on. It's just great.
All right. So of course,
Take us home, Brad.
I had to have a rationale here. So you won't find any songs from
God.
this album on my top 5 because, well, not because they're not, because I wouldn't pick one. So I figured I've already covered all them, so I picked from the others. And so what I did is I tried to pick one from like each album, basically. So my number 5 actually comes from Romeo and Juliet soundtrack, Local God. That, first of all, the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack has a ton of great songs on it by Garbage and Everclear, and I'm drawing a blank on others, but there's others. And their one is fantastic. Number 4, I have Volvo Driving Soccer Mom, Pete. And then I also picked like a honorable mention from each of those albums. So from that album, my honorable mention was TV Show, which is a song I really like. My number 3 comes from American Movie Volume 2. It is Rockstar, which if I ever was a Major League Baseball player, there's a good chance that could be my walk-up song.
That's your walk-up?
It'd be in consideration.
Oh, yeah.
And then my honorable mention from that album is Slide, which is, if you go listen to that, you'll love it. My number 2, Gifford, is Santa Monica, which was like the first. Actually, I think Heroin Girl came out first, but
yes,
but it was one of the first hits anyway. And I loved all of them. And then my honorable mention from that album is the song Strawberry, which is a kind of different from the other, because that's a pretty heavy album, but Strawberry is a little one of their kind of lighter ones. And then my number 1 is So Much for the Afterglow. I think that opening song to that album, it sounds like the Beach Boys, but the Beach Boys playing rock. I mean, the harmonies and the way it builds from the beginning. I am such a sucker for that song. It is my favorite. It's one of my all-time favorite songs. And then my honorable mention from that album is the song Amphetamine, which is one of the best songs I've ever run to on a run. It's just there's first of all, there's
Oh.
like 10 Everclear songs that are absolutely perfect for running and going on a training for a marathon or going on a run or whatever. And that's one.
Noted.
Yeah.
That's
do it, Pete.
amphetamine for your ears is what it is while you're
Yeah.
running.
So and I could have put, now that it's over,
That was
Wonderful, Learning How to Smile, AM Radio. I could have put any of them on there. So instead of picking one, I just figured I'll include them all as one lump, and I'll pick some other ones instead.
Nice.
All right.
All right. I hope somebody listens to this and goes and rediscovers Everclear, because you won't be disappointed.
No.
The same could be said about Preacher Row. If they go listen
I think
to
so.
Preacher Row.
Mhm.
What
will
a
not be
segue that
disappointed.
was.
For sure.
All right. Let's bring them on, shall we?
All right.
I don't see why not.
Okay.
And I
All right,
think
let's
that
do it.
they would agree that they like pop, they like soul, they like rock, but they don't like disco.
Don't like disco. That's right.
Thanks for listening, folks.
All right. Bye.
Standing on my own till fear. No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your song is gone. Something's doubts if it will be mine.